The Cardinals are the best team in the NFL. There, I said it. How do you miss that many opportunities? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Fun NFL. We got another recap to do. Starting off with the Jets-Titans. It was a wild game. If you watched it, I watched the film yesterday. It was a really weird game, to say the least. As we get into the Week 4 recap, a lot of good games, a lot of bad games, a lot of surprises, a lot of stinkers. And I'm not in the best mood, I'll be honest. But for the Titans offense, so they lost, if anyone didn't know, they lost 27-24. The Jets are now 1-3. The Titans, I don't know what to say. How do you lose to the Jets? This is kind of like the Rams last year. How do you lose to the Jets? I mean, like, run the ball and control the clock. They did run the ball. Derrick Henry had a good game. And, they threw the ball pretty well, too. Like, Ryan Tannehill, he wasn't exactly efficient. 30 of 49, 298 yards, a touchdown. He got the job done. What was it? Well, here's the thing. They didn't finish in the red zone. That was their problem. They got a lot of yards. They only got 2 touchdowns in the red zone the whole game. They had 1 long touchdown, and that was on a pick. Well, no, wait, that was a fumble, whatever. But they couldn't finish in the red zone. I got to give them, they didn't really control the clock either. They didn't do it great. They didn't put up enough points to win. I'm going to give them an underscore. Like, they put up points. They didn't play a bad game offensively. The defense just played really well. And then for the Titans defense, like, they gave a couple field goals. I get that, but they didn't play a good game at all. Like, I get they got a sack. They got a pick. But, like, I mean, you can't really let that happen. It's just, like, it's common sense. So, as much as the Titans defense didn't play terrible, they just didn't have a great game. For the Jets offense, like, Zach Wilson, best game so far, definitely is not even close. 21 of 34, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. at the end of the game, he played really well. I said, don't turn the ball over. They did. I'm giving them an underscore. Yeah, they might not have played perfect, but they did enough for them to win. But their defense gets a plus. They didn't give up over 30 points. Yeah, here's the thing. Like, Jeremy McNichols, a running back, was their number one receiver. They didn't have a good receiver in the whole game. That kind of killed them at times. But there were games in 2019 where A.J. Brown was out. There were 2 games I remember. They won those games, and they were against pretty good teams. Not great teams. They beat the Colts without him. But more importantly, you just got to think, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are very important to this team because they literally just lost the Jets. But if their defense is to stop the run and force turnovers, and they'll give up over 20 points. They didn't do any of that, but I got to admit, they didn't play a bad game at all. They just didn't give up big plays. They didn't get eaten alive. They did their job, and they ended up winning. Good job for the Jets. Hats off to them. Next game, Lions, Bears. This game was probably the one game no one really watched because it was kind of a stinker game. Bears won 24-14. I don't really know what to say except, like, that's all I really got to say about this game. Because, like, both teams, as much as I think they didn't play bad, they just didn't have a great game. So, like, I said for the Lions offense, score on the ground and move the ball through the air. They didn't score on the ground. They were terrible in the red zone. They ran the ball kind of well. Jared Goff had a pretty good game, 24 of 38, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. Khalif Raymond had 2 touchdowns. T.J. Hockenson had a couple good catches. Quintus Cephas had 1 nice catch. They just weren't very that efficient. Like, they weren't bad. They only put up 14 points. I'm gonna give them a minus. They just didn't play great. Like, wasn't a bad game. Like, look at the stats. It just, like, it was just, they couldn't score in the red zone. They had a lot of 4th down stops. It just wasn't a really good game. Like, they got to put up more points. Like, I think of them as, like, yeah, they're not going to get a ton of yardage, but they're going to score points. They didn't really do that today. It was kind of the opposite. So if they're able to, like, maybe get back to that next week, I really don't know. They're 0-4. They're a pretty bad team. Them and the Jags are the only 2 terrible teams you could call them right now. Not surprised. For the Lions, defense stopped the run and pressured the QB. Like, I mean, they kind of stopped the run. They got a sack. Like, they got some pressure. I'll give them an underscore. They didn't play terrible. Like, I mean, it's the Bears' offense, but they didn't really stop the run. They did pressure Fields pretty well, though. So I'll give them an underscore. Bears, Justin Fields had some really nice long passes. 11 for 17, 209 yards, interception. He threw a lot of deep passes. One of them was intercepted, but he had a pretty good game when you think of it. He had over 10 yards for a 10. Wait, did he have over 20? He had almost 20 yards. I mean, he had over 10 yards per attempt, which is really good. If you didn't know that. Maybe even over 15. So, yeah, he had a good game, but the interception wasn't great. Yeah, he did. I guess he did enough for them to win. They ran the ball really well, though. Like, Dave Montgomery ran the ball well. Damian Williams ran the ball really well. Like, they were running the ball at will. There's another team that played yesterday, that had even better. Darnell Mooney just was making catches left and right. Allen Robinson has just really not been that great this year. I get they've been targeting him. He just hasn't. And Marquise Goodwin, Justin Fields, 2 of his incompletions were on missed passes to him, but I really don't care because he was doing his job. I'm gonna give him an underscore. Like, they didn't play terrible. They ran the ball really well, but 24 points isn't really great. So the defense gets a plus. They played awesome. Yeah, they gave up yardage, but they did really dominate the line of scrimmage. Goff was pressured a lot. As you can see, they got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they got 4 sacks. That's really good. If you get 3 plus sacks, you're having a good game. And then they couldn't really get a takeaway, but that wasn't really a lot. Like, it's different when you're getting, like, 4th down stops. They just played good defense. Like, they weren't on. It was like the old school defense, I'd say. They totally didn't play a bad game. Definitely, they just didn't get many turnovers. Or any turnovers at all. It didn't really hurt them, though, because they still won. For the Colts, Dolphins, this game, the Colts are trying to get back on track. They won their first game. They won 27-17. I'd say it was a decent game. Like, the Dolphins were just hurt. Like, they didn't look the same. But the Colts they finally won a game. They should not be 0-3 right now. Like, the game I'm looking forward, they're playing it's going to be a little while, but they're going to have some really hard games coming up. They play the Ravens on Monday night. Either way, for the Colts offense, I said run the ball effectively, try and keep Wentz in the pocket on the play action crossers. He actually didn't have to stay in the pocket because he looked really healthy. And yeah, he didn't really pay a price for it. They ran the ball really well with Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack's gonna get traded. As you can see, he didn't play well at all. Was not even close to efficient. But Wentz was 24 for 32, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looks really good. Like maybe he's definitely not MVP caliber, but he's looking like a really good quarterback. I'd say like. Maybe, like, it's kind of looking like 2019, maybe not as high level, but he's playing good enough for them to win. I'm going to give him I'll give him a plus. They didn't, like, get any turnover. Like, it wasn't terrible. He had 27 points, but they played good offensive football, and I have to credit them. For the Colts defense, like, they got 3 sacks. They wasn't dominant or anything. They only gave up 17 points. Like, no long plays. Didn't really do that and get off the field cookie. They kind of did that. I'll give them an underscore, like, yeah, it wasn't a pretty game, but they were getting pressure. Like, literally, Kamoko Toure was getting in there. They had a pretty good game defensively. Didn't really do anything special, but didn't have a bad game. For the, I gotta throw, like, they didn't really run the ball well at all. They just abandoned it. But Fuller, Parker, and Will Fuller, like I said, only 1 catch, not surprising. Jalen Waddle had a couple nice catches. Same with Devontae Parker. It wasn't as efficient. I'll give them an underscore. Like, they played a good game considering that Jacoby Brissett was a quarterback. Dolphins didn't play a bad game offensively. Defensively, yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointment. They did get 2 sacks. They didn't get a turnover, though. I'm going to give an underscore. Neither of these teams really played bad. It was just an okay game. Colts offense kind of was the difference. But what do you expect? Like, the Dolphins don't have their starter in Tua. So, like, it wasn't a bad game by either teams, but Colts just played a little better. Now we go to a defensive struggle in the Browns and the Vikings. Browns are now 3-1 on the season. They won 14-7 over the Vikings, who are now 1-3 for the second straight year. For the Browns, their offense, they didn't really play well. Passing game was not there. Baker threw so many incompletions. 15 of 33, 155 yards. But Nick Chubb ran for 21 for 100, and Kareem Hunt had 14 for 69 and 1 touchdown. Like, they ran the ball pretty well. I gotta give them an underscore. It was really defensively, but they didn't turn over the ball at all. Like, they trusted the run game, and I guess it got them some points. Like, I want to give them the minus. They didn't really play bad, but they just didn't really do good. How do you not give them a plus? They gave up 7 points. Their defense looks really good. They had 2 sacks, an interception, a lot of tackles for loss. Had a really good game overall. Odell didn't really do much, but no one really did. For the Vikings, it's a minus for their offense. They didn't show up. They did nothing. Dalvin Cook just couldn't get anything going. It kind of looked like Saquon last week, if you didn't know, against Falcons. He just couldn't really get anything going. Kind of looked like that. Alexander Madison, he got stuffed every single time. He had 1 nice run. That was about it. Kirk, he was 20 of 38, 203 yards, touchdown pick. I'm not kidding. There was 1 drive where he just threw deep balls. It was him throwing deep. I'm not kidding. That was the whole drive. Want to know what happened? Yeah, it was they didn't do anything. Their offense didn't show up. Simple. I don't really even need to talk about it. For the Vikings defense, like, stop the run and don't be afraid to bring pressure. Like, they contained the run, and they did bring a ton of pressure. Yeah, they got 3 sacks. Mayfield was getting hit a lot. I'll give them an underscore. Like, you know what? They get a plus. Like, their defense played really well, so I'll give them it. They didn't force a turnover, but they played a really good game. I'll give them that. When you only give 14 points, you should be winning, especially that good of an offense. Every offense is gonna have a stinker, like kind of like the Rams, I guess. No, I'm joking. Either way, next game, Washington Falcons. Okay, this game was really cool. Like, really good game. Washington's 2-2 on the season. They're keeping pace with those Cowboys. Falcons are 1-3, 34-30. They choked again. Yeah, it wasn't that big of a joke, I have to admit. They still lost the game, though. It was such a bad defense, but their defense is terrible. For I gotta admit, Washington, they ran the ball pretty well. Like, Antonio Gibson had a good game. Taylor Heineke ran the ball a couple of times. J.D. McKissic wasn't that efficient, but he kind of, like, saved them on 3rd down the whole game. Like, 3rd down, 3 of these 4 catches were clutch. 1 of them was a touchdown. But yeah, I remember he had 1 catch. That probably was the biggest play of the game. It wasn't a touchdown, but the touchdown was the biggest play of the game. But Other than that, you had a really nice catch for a first down that basically saved the game, and that set up the touchdown to J.D. McKissic. But either Washington offenses had run the ball to throw in the red zone. Yeah, they did that pretty well. Give them a plus. They put up 34 points. Yeah, they probably shouldn't have won, but they did. So yeah. Oh my gosh, Washington defense. They got one. They didn't even get a pick. No, they didn't get a They didn't play really good at all. Like they didn't play absolutely awful for them to like. They just didn't play well. I'll give them an underscore. They gave 30 points. The Falcons finally look like a functional offense. And yeah, that's why I'll give the Falcons a plus. Like Matt Ryan threw 4 touchdowns. Cordell Patterson just kept catching the ball out of the backfield and getting the end zone. Everyone really had a good game offensively. They ran the ball really well. The times they did run it, it was efficient, so that Washington couldn't do it. But their defense just didn't play well. I'll give them a plus for their offense. They did enough for them to win, but they couldn't get it done in the end. Washington Falcons defense, they get a minus. You give up 32.4 points to a backup quarterbacks and also choke the game. Pressure Heineke, they didn't do it. They really didn't do that. They had one nice sack. That was about it. And yeah, they did not contain the long plays. They had some really mammoth plays. So yeah, Washington's 2-2. They beat the choking Falcons 34-30. Yeah, Falcons, your season's not over though. But if you guys just, I feel bad for them. Like you gotta admit. Next game was a straight up blowout. That's all I really have to say. Texans are now 1-3. They should be 0-4, but they're 1-3, so I can't really say anything else. Bills are 3-1. They look like the team to beat in the AFC. Yes, they do. They're really good. They won 40-0. They both get minuses. The Texans stunk. They were terrible. Bills offense had run the ball at Davis Mills threw 4 interceptions. They only had 87 yards in the pass. Like their marking was actually decently efficient. Same with David Johnson when you're like just looking naked eye. But they just didn't play well. Josh Allen threw a bad interception to Lonnie Johnson. Overthrew Stephon Diggs by about 10 yards. Like 20 of 29, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. This just looks like inconsistent Josh Allen. Not like bad Josh Allen, just inconsistent. Josh Allen, superstar next 1 week, inconsistent the next week, and like bad was like 2019. Inconsistent Josh Allen, like he's gonna win you games, but he's not great. So yeah, I said like run the ball and then throw it 35 times. They didn't really get up to that. I didn't really care. I'm gonna give them an underscore. Like, what do you like? It's kind of hard to mess it up when your defense is playing so well. Yeah, their defense gets a plus. Yeah, it's kind of hard not to look that good when you have a really good defense playing against a really bad team. So yeah, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss both ran the ball really well. They did run the ball well. I gotta admit that. Like Stephon Diggs, he had a decent game. They got 4 interceptions. They only got 1 sack, but they got a ton. They had 1 or 2 sacks. They got 2. They got a ton of pressure though. That's what I don't like about this. People just looking at the sacks. Oh, they only got 2 sacks. Well, they're saying they get more. There are teams that are better at pressuring than other teams that get less sacks at the end of the season. Just depends. Now Giants Saints. This game was wild. The Saints, as I predicted, could lose this game. The way they've been playing, just like thinking like it's been a pattern, they absolutely look like the best team in the NFL 1 week, and they absolutely lay an egg the next week. That's how it kind of was this week, but it wasn't as big of an egg. Daniel Jones, best game of his career. He threw an interception, and he came back from it, and yeah, it was 21. He threw a pick. They were up 10. They were up 7-0. He throws a bad interceptions. It's 7-7. Then they scored 7. They scored 3. They're just behind. Like that interception just like flipped the script. He comes back from that adversity, run the ball and score points. They ran the ball okay. Like Saquon, 13 of 52 touchdown, the game winner. Score points. I'd say 27 scoring points. I'm gonna give the Giants offense a plus. Yeah, was it a great game? No, but they responded to adversity, which I really like with this Giants squad. For the Giants defense, keep the offense in the game with turnovers and of course winning the gap game. They didn't really win the gap game though, because Kamara, like he didn't run the ball great, but they didn't really win the gap game. I'm gonna give them an underscore. They didn't really keep the offense in the game. The offense kind of took care of themselves for the first time this season. They didn't play bad though. They played a good game. Now we go to the Saints. Taysom Hill threw a bad interception, but Jameis pretty much perfect. 17 of 23, 226 yards touchdown. Only thing I gotta say about him is he probably could have had more shots. Kamara 26 of 120. Taysom Hill's a beast on the ground. The offense will give an underscore. Like they kind of like kept the Giants in the game, but they put up some points. Their defense also gets an underscore. Other than that Saquon Barkley touchdown at the end of the game, they were playing near perfect. They didn't get a sack because Daniel Jones was actually playing well. Marcus Williams had the interception though. So yeah, like the Saints didn't play a bad game. They just didn't play a really good game. Like not, it's just like they're all at fault for losing that game. Next is Eagles Chiefs. I want to keep this one short and sweet because gotta admit, this game was kind of the Chiefs the whole time. Yeah, the defense wasn't good. I said don't turn over the ball and then gain yardage any way possible and then take advantage of one-on-one. Mahomes was 24 of 30, 278 yards, 5 touchdowns, interception. The interception was BS. If you didn't know, it was like, so he throws the screen. He got bombed as he threw it. It went off Kelsey's hand because, well, whatever. It's hard to explain. Interception. Well, it shouldn't have been an interception. Whatever. Mahomes had a good game. The offense put up 42 points. They got a plus. It's kind of simple. Like, the interception was BS. Other than that, they ran the ball super, like, efficiently. And, yeah. Their defense, though, I gotta say, they were not very good. They got pressure because Jalen was throwing the ball the whole time. I'm going to give them an underscore. Like, they didn't play so bad that they're, like, it wasn't as bad. It's not one of the worst I've seen, but it definitely wasn't good. For the Eagles, offense, like, Jalen had a really good game. 32 of 48, 387 yards, 2 touchdowns. They ran the ball not really that well because they abandoned the run game. Receiving-wise, Devontae Smith had a really good game. Zach Ertz, same thing. Dallas Goedert, same thing. I'll give them, you know what? I'll give them a plus. 30-plus points. They didn't really play methodical, but put up points. They did the best they could. I got to give it to them. Hats off. They took advantage of the bad defense. Eagles defense, minus. Like, you gave up 42 points. Other than the interception, it was pretty bad in the sack. It just looked really bad. It kind of looked like the Rams defense, except the Rams defense looked a little... Oh, we'll get into it after that. But, yeah. That game was, it was all that. It was all them. So the Panthers, yeah, if anyone didn't know, they lost. The score is a lot different than it should have been. The Cowboys dominated. They won 36-28. Like, Panthers had, like, good job. They started off 3-0, but tough luck. I said Panthers always no turnovers and piled long yardage and played very slow to manage clock. They played very slow. They ran the ball okay. Like, you're not playing a great defense. But Sam Darnold threw 2 picks. He had 2 nice rushing touchdowns on the ground. I'll give them an underscore. They did turn over the ball, kind of got away from them. They just didn't play that bad of a game. For the Panthers defense, not gonna lie, they did not play good at all. They had a terrible game. Like, there were drives at the beginning of the game, they looked really good, but I'll give them a minus. They gave up 36 points. Like, I got it. You put them there. They just didn't play well. Then for the Cowboys, Dak only had to throw 14 of 22, 188 yards, 4 touchdowns. He looked like a Jameis Winston, except a lot better in terms of, like, week 1. But Zeke ran the ball really well on 20 carries. Like, absolutely just pummeled them. Same with Tony Pollard. He looked even better. Amari Cooper had nice catches. They just had, like, touchdowns. Like, that's all, literally their whole passing game. The defense played really well. It's both pluses. They played a really good game. Are the boys back? The boys aren't just, we don't know yet. It's hard to judge the boys. Like, they're a good team from the first 4 weeks of the season. They're the best team in the NFC East. It's kind of simple, but yeah. Next game, Seahawks 49ers. I don't really want to talk about this game because I'm not ranting about the Rams game. If anyone didn't know, I'm not going to rant about it. But Seahawks are 2-2. 49ers are 2-2. Big win for the Seahawks. They have to go to they host the Rams on Thursday Night Football on Thursday. The Seahawks, I said, run the ball, protect Wilson, take the shots. Like, they did all that. They're getting a plus. Should have they played better? Maybe. Like, they didn't run the ball great with Chris Carson, but they didn't play terrible, so I got to give them that. Seahawks defense, blow up running lanes and don't get burned on Kittle's routes. Not going to lie, they didn't play a great game. They had 2 sacks and an interception. I'll give them what I think they get. They'll get an underscore. They didn't play bad. Like, the fourth quarter, it looked a little bad. It was getting a little close, but defense didn't really play that bad of a game. They played decent. Jimmy G, not gonna lie, Trey Lance looked better, but it's just because you're, like, seeing that infusion. He started off slow through a touchdown, and then he just went more slow. And then he had a really good drive at the end of the game. For them, they just ran the ball really well. They kind of got away from it at the end. I'm going to give them an underscore. Like, come on. That's all I'm thinking. Like, this offense is good. They just got to play better. Like, Deebo Samuel, another monster game. Defensively for them, they had 3 sacks. Played a good game. I'll give them an underscore. They kind of kept their offense in the game. If they forced a turnover, they would have got a plus because they would have won the game if they got a turnover. Not a bad game, but not a great game for the Niners. Cardinals Rams. Cardinals, they're the best team in the NFL right now. Is that an overreaction? Yes, because if next time they play on Monday Night Football Week 14, these two teams we'll know a lot more about the Cardinals, and we'll know if the Rams are the real deal. But right now, the Cardinals are the best team in the NFL. They're 4-0. They absolutely abominated the Rams. Kyler didn't really have to throw that bad. Just took what the defense gave him. He had one bomb of a touchdown. They break sometimes. The defense just didn't do what they were supposed to. Gotta admit. Kyler, you can't give up 4 first downs to Kyler. They pressured him really well, but they didn't play good defense. Kyler ran pretty well. They get a plus. They played a really, really good game. I don't even need to talk about it. Their offense. The Rams' defense, yeah, they weren't absolutely horrific, but they were not good. It honestly probably looked like the Buffalo game, except they weren't giving up as much yardage and as much. It's kind of hard to explain, but it looked like the Bills game from a couple years ago. I'll just put it out. The corners, David Long, if you don't know who he is, he was the Rams corner. He was the one who gave that touchdown to AJ Green. They need to put their second string Robert Rochelle in or Terrell Burgess because he doesn't know what he's doing. But for the Cardinals defense, they got a pick. They didn't get a sack. The Rams offensive line didn't give up a sack. Stafford was getting pressure. They get a plus. They had an absolute phenomenal game. Only gave up 20 points to a good offense. You can call them right now. Then for the Rams, they get minuses everywhere. They laid an egg. That's pretty much all I have to say about them. They laid an egg, and yeah, Cardinals snapped the 8-game losing streak against the Rams. Good for them. And yeah, the Rams have to play in Thursday Night Football next week. I'm not happy. No. We'll get in that preview after this. But either way, Packers Steelers. Packers won 27-17. Steelers now 1-3. They look terrible. Yeah, that's pretty much simple. For the Steelers offense, they get a minus. Yeah, they might have had one long touchdown to Deontay Johnson. Big Ben was awful. 26-40, 232 yards, touchdowns, interception. Yeah, he didn't really play that bad. He did. And they actually ran the ball kind of well against a bad run defense. Juju really struggled, with getting open. He had one time he was open, but Big Ben, my God, had so many missed throws. And then you look at the defense. They might not have forced turnover. They got pressure on Rodgers. They kept him in the game pretty much. They get an underscore. Their defense, looking. Yeah, we kind of kept our team in the game, to say the least. This game was on national television, too, if you didn't know. And then for the Packers, their offense gets a plus. Aaron didn't really have to do much. They were a little inconsistent in the passing game early. A lot of drop passes, but not bad. Their defense gets a plus, too, because they teed up on Big Ben. Yeah, maybe only 2 sacks, but he got hit a lot. They got a nice interception, Eric Stokes. It was a terrible pass by Ben. Randall Cobb had 2 easy touchdowns. Davante Adams, not really a big game, but whatever. Yeah, and if you didn't care, Matt Stafford, yeah, he 2 touchdowns and interception. Or was it 1 touchdown and interception? Whatever. Next game, Ravens, Broncos. Broncos proved, yeah, we're not a great team. Well, maybe an excuse was that Teddy got hurt, but we all know Drew Lock's awful, so yeah. Plus for the offense, yeah, they didn't run the ball great. Latavius Murray didn't run the ball, Le'Veon didn't run the ball great, but they put up enough points for them to win. Their defense actually played phenomenal against a bad offense. It just didn't look good. They got, 1, 2, 3. They got 5 sacks, and they got an interception on the Broncos, they get a minus. They only put up 7 points. You're never going to win when you only put up that much. The only time you're winning putting up 7 points is usually in a snow game. So, yeah, and those are rare. So, they're not rare. They happen a couple times this season. Next game, we got Broncos defense. But for the Broncos defense, I said stop the run and force turnovers. They got 4 sacks. No, 3 sacks. They got 3 sacks. I'll give them an underscore. They didn't play a bad game. They stopped the run really well, but they just didn't play good in the pass game. Lamar had some really big plays. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for that game, and then we go to the last game we're doing. It's a Bucks Patriots Sunday Night Football. This was a really good game. Tom Brady, not gonna lie, he was not great. 22 of 43, 269 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Leonard Fournette ran the ball really well the whole game. Same with Ronald Jones on this couple carries, had a good game. Antonio Brown and Mike Evans were really the only ones getting targeted. I'm gonna give him a underscore. What do you expect? It's his first game back at Gillette. And then for the Patriots, they pressured Mac Jones. Let's see how many sacks they got. They got 4 sacks on Mac, and they got a pick. I'm gonna give them a plus. They only give 17 points too. Yeah, I guess against the Patriots, but still. Their offense probably played well enough for them to win. Mac was actually pretty darn good. 31 of 40, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. Not gonna lie, he actually probably played better than Brady. They didn't run the ball at all. They just didn't run the ball. I'm gonna give them an underscore. They didn't really play bad. I didn't like how they approached the game, but it kind of worked in some way. They didn't run the ball. They had a total of -1 yards rushing. I am not kidding. Then for their passing game was pretty good. Nelson Aguilar was getting open left and right, other than the first couple of drives. And then defensively, I'll give them a plus. They gave them 19 points to the best offense in the league. The Bucs offense is a better offense than the Cardinals. I know I'm saying that, and it's oh, it's a hot take. Yeah, you're right. It is a darn hot take. Because there are gonna be games where Kyler Murray is gonna struggle. Yeah, it's the first 4 games of the season. They look like the best offense in the NFL. They look like the best team in the NFL. But I promise you, there will be games this season where the Cardinals will struggle to move the football. They will struggle. With the Bucs, then it's never gonna happen because they have Tom Brady at quarterback. And that's just the truth. They removed the ball against the Rams. The Rams were taking away the run game. Like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the Monday Night Football game. It should be a dandy. The Raiders are 3-0, trying to advance to 4-0. Ours, the Chargers are 2-1, trying to advance to 3-1. Like and subscribe. Get ready for the Monday night game, and then of course we got Week 5. Well, let's talk about that later. And yeah, we got a London game. Like and subscribe. Hope you enjoy. And of course, get ready for the power rankings and the Monday Night Football recap.